The Sens are back, and the Sens are perhaps in a little bit of trouble. We entered the last episode off the back of the Lafreniere trade, and now we enter this episode off the back of the worst case scenario I think that we could have off of a wheel spin, that being a head coaching change. Our head coach, Landon Scoville, has been fired. As a result, we are relying upon interim head coach Matthew Boyle to lead this team moving forward. And unfortunately, I mean, a 62% scheme fits okay, but he doesn't suit some of our top players, mainly someone like a Brady Tkachuk, as well as Scoville did. So it sets the stage here for really an interesting episode, because I have changed up the team in terms of the lines and the chemistry and the player types, which, again, mentioned it before, not going to be able to cheese that next year, so thank God we're doing the series in NHL 20 and not 21. But it is Tkachuk with Pinto now as our top center and Taylor Hall, a second line of Pacioretty, Formenton, and Matthew Tkachuk, a third line of White, Brown, Norris. Kastelik has been called up to be on the fourth line with Batherson and Tyson Jost. The defense remains the same despite some different changes to the plus minuses. And then, of course, goaltending-wise, it's still Kemper and Wallstead. So in the last episode as well, we mentioned that there could be a blockbuster trade on the horizon, depending on what happens with Cody Glass. You know, when he comes back from injury, when he's healthy, where this team is at that given time. You know, acquiring Cody Glass, he's going to be back in 8 days. Now, it wasn't exactly my decision to go out and get Cody Glass. That move was forced upon us, unfortunately, as we'll start Kemper here against Detroit, and then it'll be back-to-back games for Wallstead. That move really was forced upon me due to the rules, of course, of this series, and simply put, Lafreniere not signing absolutely screwed us. So it really was a tough situation there. Of course, Matt Sjogard injured right now in the AHL, so I'm trying to balance out that playing time as best we can. We're still in first place in the division. The sky isn't falling, although getting pooped on by Toronto 5-0 doesn't help our current situation. We'll see what happens here, though, of course, over this given month, really leading up to the deadline. As much as anything's ever set in stone, which in franchise mode it never is, certainly what happens now moving forward is hardly set in stone. And looking here, I think it's going to be Rudy Balcers that gets dropped for the moment. Maybe it is Kastelik. I'd prefer not to lose Kastelik. How has he done so far in the few games? He's a really good fourth liner. I really don't want to lose him. I'm not opposed to losing Rudy Balcers, but he's been really good too. Let's hope we don't lose Kastelik. I really hope we don't. We didn't. Thank God for that. As Cody Glass is back, I actually don't even know if he's going to be at 100% for this next game. Maybe we'll slot in Balcers on the fourth line and see what he can do. We don't want to play Glass before he's 100%. That, of course, could just cause a further injury, as we'll swap out Wallstead and Kemper. So Wallstead rocking a 926 off the back of that performance against Colorado. A nice 3-0 shutout. So we go from getting pooped on to doing the pooping. We are the ones who poop. We look here. Glass, not at 100%. He will not play. We cannot risk an injury. So against Florida, we lose 6-4. Ugh. Glass should be back to 100% here before we play the Columbus Blue Jackets, and indeed, he is. So we'll get Glass back into the lineup. The only real thing to do here is to just go best lines for the moment and take Balcers out for Shane Pinto, of all people. So the fourth line, I think, who the hell do we even put here? Do we reunite Batherson, Brown, Jost? They actually might not even have the line chemistry anymore. They're at least an even rating. And then the third line, goddamn, what do we even do here? White, Formenton, Tkachuk actually kind of works, funny enough. That could be the team for the moment, as weird as it is. Maybe we'll just try that and see what happens. We are really in that situation of just throw whatever we can at the wall to see what sticks, so we might as well. There we go. We'll get that chemistry back. Just such a weird situation we find ourselves in right now. We do need to look to take James Neal out of this lineup to get... I'd prefer Kastelik to be in over Neal, obviously. Mark can still improve. And then defensively, we'll leave John Moore in. So let's move forward. Line chemistry right now isn't perfected, but line chemistry also isn't the end-all be-all to finding success in franchise mode. But we do get pooped on for the second game in a row. We've allowed 12 goals in our last 2 games, so needless to say, Darcy Kemper is not going to play the next few games. Huge opportunity here for Jesper Wallstedt to try and make a bit of an impact, to see if he can prove himself, worthy of fighting for this starting role. He'll play until we play the Habs. It'll be Kemper's next chance, and we do get a 5-2 win. Game against a decently struggling LA team, a shootout win there, and we play a relatively bad Islanders team at this stage of the season. 3 straight wins for Wallstedt. For as much as there was talk of a potential blockbuster move, I mean, maybe it's Jesper Wallstedt's time already, and Darcy Kemper's not going to be around for that much longer. A couple of different ways we could go about this. Huge game here for Kemper. He wins. So he'll play until we take on the Vegas Golden Knights as we continue to try and further our lead ahead of the Bruins. We just can't seem to beat the Maple Leafs, despite them being the worst team in the division at this point. We take on the Islanders as well, and we do win that. So 2 good goaltenders, better than 1 good goaltender. I'm not complaining. If Kemper can elevate his level of play due to being pushed by Wallstedt, it really can only be good news for us, as DePita really hasn't played all that well down in the AHL. Cody Glass, still just 13 points in 28 games. That move is looking like one of the most regrettable in the history of this channel. I don't think we want to pull the plug on that particular move in less than a season's worth of time, but pressure's on. We have 2 games left this month. Dallas and Montreal. The Stars are very good. We pick up a pity point against them. Montreal's solid, just outside a playoff spot. As Josh Norris suffers a minor concussion, he'll be out for a couple days. We do end up beating the Habs. So as of January 1st, 2024, we have a 24-13-2 record. We are the top team in the Atlantic Division, and somehow only the 7th best team in the league. The New York Rangers are something else right now. As crazy as that is, it's unfortunate I can't look at the team. I guess, I don't know why. Fog of War is on, maybe? It's not, though. It doesn't make any sense. I should have just gone to player stats. Taylor Hall, 35 points in 39 games. Actually, here, we'll just look at the team in general. I don't care to know what's going on around the league. It doesn't really make too much of a difference to me. So, Balcers is in due to the injury. We'll get him down to the 4th line. Put Batherson over there. So, offensively, Brady Tkachuk has 29 points in 39 games. I thought we were really turning the corner with him over these 2 seasons. There is now concern about Brady Tkachuk. And just how good is he? I don't know what his long-term future is with this team. Not that I want to get rid of him. I mean, I want to kind of keep the face of the franchise around, but he has 1 year left at the end of this, and I don't know what he's going to be worth. Cody Glass, 19 points in 31 games. Not good enough. Not even close. And then Taylor Hall, leading scorer, 35 points in 39 games is okay, but still not good enough. You see what he did his first full year in Ottawa. I mean, damn. The underperformance continues. Colin White, 23 points in 39 games. Not great for someone of his caliber. Alex Formenton just does not have it as a top 6 scorer. He simply doesn't. He's on pace for 30 points. And Matthew Tkachuk might hit 50. That's not great either. The scoring just is not where we need it to be from a lot of these players. 23 points from Pinto is okay. Only 14 points, 2 goals from Logan Brown. 17 points for Pacioretty. Balcers 4 points in the 5 games. Batherson's been okay. Great for a bottom 6 option. And Tyson Jost has been great too. So we're still looking at a lot of underperforming players, a lot of big underperforming players in terms of their importance to this club. Branstrom's been solid. Bernard Docker been moved into a DFD role. He's been pretty solid. I'm not upset with Uyghur and Chabot. Really, I'm not upset with those defensive numbers at all. And then goaltending-wise, it's, Wallstedt and Kemper are still looking solid. We just don't have that goal-scoring threat that you'd think that we'd have. 18 points there for Norris. Again, still not quite where we would want it to be. So we still have 2 months, basically, until the deadline. We'll see where we are at that point in time in terms of the standings. I know it said Sjogard was fully healthy, but I'm going to have him set out for a little bit longer. We absolutely crushed the Washington Capitals, and Josh Norris is back, which is why I wanted to wait. We knew Norris would be healthy in just a matter of moments. So there is still a lot to be considered right now. Where this team is in the playoffs, maybe we end up kind of being in that New York Rangers role where we look and think to ourselves, hey, we can make the playoffs, but are we going to make a huge impact? Oh, we're not? Let's just retool. Let's blow it up a little bit. That said, we've won 8 of our last 10 games, so for as much as there are concerns over this team, we're still, for the most part, getting results. Of course, we just so happen to lose to Montreal as I say that. Pittsburgh is next. Another loss. Well, no matter what, we're sticking with Wallstedt here against the Rangers, so I don't have to make too many swaps. We'll see what happens here as Fedor Gradiv goes down to an injury in the AHL, and we lose our third in a row, 6-0, against the New York Rangers. Fun. Ugh. So Wallsted's still rocking a 9.15. Good goaltending, not great goaltending has been the key so far. And down in the AHL, let's get rid of that negative. And then goaltending-wise, hate to say it, Jan Bednar has been a little bit worse than Depita, and Depita has a better value. So it'll be Depita and Sjogard. Mads will get the opportunity. He played pretty well when he picked up that injury. Still looking at potentially cutting ties with him and getting the most out of his value while we can. We'll see what happens there. We play Detroit and lose. We play Vancouver and we win. Okay, so Kemper will at least get the next couple of starts. It's funny, we're in second place in the division, but I think it's just because of all the change and the turmoil. I just don't have the utmost confidence in this team right now. They really have to prove themselves here as we hit the totally not all-star break before playing the Flyers on the final day of the month. Christian Wolanin's back in the AHL. We'll see what we can do here. 28-18-2. We will sim this game against the Flyers. Darcy Kemper goes down to a concussion, only out for a couple of days. We were going to change the lines anyway. But there you go. So a chance for Wallstedt to at least pick up a couple more starts. So February 1st. Interesting times. Wallstedt is the guy between the pipes in the AHL. Sjogard now up to 14 games played. Just want to make sure that the line chemistry makes sense. Again, we'll take out James Neal for Mark Kastelich. It's a shame that Scott Sabourin has to be a scratch, but that's just kind of the way it goes. So all of that is fine for the most part. NHL-wise, that's still fine too. The fact is, we're still winning games. Let's go to the deadline. We'll take a look at the team and figure out for sure just what the hell we want to do. Because right now where the standings are, there's a lot of teams that are close. So we could easily still be in a playoff spot, or we could find ourselves very much on the outside looking in and having those questions of, okay, what the hell is this going to be? We will still start Wallstedt here. Kemper won't play again until we take on Minnesota, as the Devils fire their head coach. We're not quite at that point. Richard Pilar's back for Belleville. He'll miss a couple of games. We take on the Rangers and beat the Rangers. Huge win, 7-1. It's Justin Schultz. I presume Justin Schultz has been traded back to Pittsburgh from San Jose. Go figure. And Tampa, we win. So a good run from Wallstedt. Pressure on Kemper as we get back into this here for him to deliver. Wallstedt rocking a 9.20. Very, very tough to argue that Kemper isn't becoming expendable if we needed to shed a little bit of cap. I mean, his contract's up at the end of the year anyway. I think there's a decent chance we might just be letting him go. And if we do end up deciding to change up the team, then certainly we could look to get some value for Kemper. Otherwise, I want to hold on to them just in case because I don't trust Prosvetov in a playoff situation. And defensively, again, we'll make that change. And then goaltending-wise, Sjogard's played quite a few games lately. Let's get Dominic DePita some game time here. That AHL team still looking pretty damn good. So here we go. It's February 12th. We are closing in on the deadline. We're just 2 points back of Tampa. Kemper gets a shutout win, so it's his crease to lose. 2 losses will be the change as we end up losing to Washington. Bjork stranded Edmondson for Swayman in a second, so Detroit picking up a goalie. I would be very upset with that deal, IRL. We take on Carolina next. Pretty damn good team. Just 3 points ahead of the Sabres. Pilar suffers another concussion. That guy can't stay healthy. We do end up beating the Hurricanes. Pittsburgh is next. Can we beat them? No, we can't. Then it's Toronto. What do we have here against the Leafs? Tina Strozan and Varlamov for a prospect named Tursunbayev in a second. So New Jersey clearly looking to move on after firing their head coach. We see what happens here against the Leafs. We lose. It's a shootout. I'll give Kemper another game. I'd prefer him to start all the way up to Columbus. And he does get the win, so we will be starting Wallstead against Columbus. And then that brings us to deadline day. It's Pilar. Whoops. Well, didn't want to do that. Pilar, you'll sit out a game or two. We do lose to the Islanders. 3 points back now of Tampa. Alexiak in a third for LaPierre in a third. Hendricks Lapierre just hasn't developed, apparently. And against the Florida Panthers, well, we see Kempe and Watt of Boston for Clefbaum and Talbot. Nor, neither of the two of them, the actual guys you'd think of when you hear those names. So back-to-back losses, one more game before deadline day. Let's see what we got here. Wallstead will get the chance to shine. And here we go. Leap year, February 29th. You can see another trade there involving Detroit. And a pretty damn big trade there for Nashville. It's Columbus. We beat them 9-3. 1 point back with a game at hand on Tampa in the division. I think there's no doubt we go for it. I mean, we're only 5 points up on the Bruins, though. I still think there's no doubt that we go for it. And if there are major changes to be made, we make them in the offseason, right? I mean, we're a top 10 team, I'd presume. Yeah, we're 9th right now in the NHL. And in terms of point percentage, we are up there as well. So I think there's no doubt we go for it. But maybe not everybody involved on this team is a part of it as we go for it. If that makes sense. Brady Tkachuk has 49 points in 63 games, right? So if we do the math, that is a 63-point pace. Fun fact. A 63-point pace there for Brady Tkachuk. Right. Oof, that's not good enough for Brady. It really isn't. But like I said, I think we stick with him. And if we're debating not holding on to Brady Tkachuk long term, that's a decision that's made in the offseason. For now, we stick with him. Cody Glass. There's a very good chance Cody Glass is going to be one and done in Ottawa. And that Lafreniere deal is going basically forced by Melnyk and his internal rules. That Lafreniere deal is going to go down as one of the biggest losses of all time. He is on pace for 41 points this year. 41.7 to be exact. Friggin' yikes, man. Yikes. I don't know what we're going to do with him. Taylor Hall, at the very least, is looking a little bit more like Taylor Hall, which I'm happy about. He's on a 68-point pace, so basically a 69-point pace. He's going to hit 30 goals again, but it's going to be the first time in 4 seasons that he doesn't hit 40 goals. At 32 years old, maybe Taylor Hall just doesn't have the magic that he once had for us. So really, that top line, every single one of them, in terms of being here next year, that's being questioned. Colin White has 36 points this season. That's a 46-point pace. It's not where we want him to be. He needs to be better than that. If he was just on the third line, sure, but he's obviously spent time on the second line this season. He continues to trend downward over the past 3 years. Josh Norris has 28 points this season. A 37-point pace. Sophomore slump indeed. And Matthew Tkachuk has just 39 points. 50-point pace for him. That's also a little bit less than what I'd prefer, especially with him having, ideal power play time. Again, he has just 11 goals as a Sen in the regular season. I don't know what we do here. Shane Pinto, 33 points. That's okay, but not really because he's had second line time. Logan Brown's been a bottom six guy, so 27 points is honestly pretty good. Pacioretty's been 27 points as a middle six option. You want it to be a little bit better. I mean, just as a third liner, that's solid. Batherson's been a great fourth liner. Formanton has been disappointing. And Tyson Jost has been great. Like, let's be honest, we're kind of wasting Tyson Jost, only playing him on the fourth line. Defensively, I mean, Brandstrom's fantastic. Bernard Docker's solid. Uyghur's solid. Chabot's okay, but doesn't put up the points you'd think that he would. He does have better line chemistry now. Thompson's been all right. Theodore's been pretty damn good. And then goaltending-wise, I mean, Wallstedt and Kemper have both been fine. So the defense is good. The goaltending's good, and they don't need to be addressed immediately. It just comes down to the forwards. And whether or not, what's the right change here? Because I can't change the coach. I at least, had to name an interim coach, so we were obviously going to name somebody who was there. But now it's like, okay, is there somebody out there who is going to help put this team together, who's going to be that, missing link for us? Or do we just try to rework people around and hope that we find the answer? So it's like, oh, here's Calle Jarnkrok. He doesn't fit the team. Do any of these guys fit the team on Chicago? No. I mean, Saad fits the first line, but how the hell are we going to fit Brandon Saad on the first line, Kane fits the second line, but not with that contract. Drouin fits the second line on an expiring deal. He has 25 points this season for Chicago. Don't know if Jonathan Drouin's the answer. The Avalanche are looking to trade Cale Makar and Bowen Byram. Landeskog doesn't fit. Newhook doesn't fit. Makar doesn't fit the team, but Bowen Byram fits the team perfectly. At least Makar is not as good of a fit as you'd want. Obviously, when it comes to, hey, here are assets that we have to trade, right? I mean, we have our own first, which has decent value at this stage. We do have staples that we could give up in terms of goaltending. Defensively, I mean, we'd have to trade somebody off roster, which isn't a part of the plan. And then forward-wise, we'd be looking at giving up Flaherty. And then you could say, hey, maybe it's the right move to cash out on White's value, the Tkachuks. So we could potentially make a play for, Byram or Makar, but obviously, again, defense isn't the issue right now. I mean, Columbus, there's Nyquist, but he has an extra year left, so absolutely not. And other than that, we'd have to be looking at someone that the team doesn't want to trade, which is a horrible idea in terms of maximizing the value of our assets. Zook is on the final year of his deal. Fits the first line, but do we really... He's having a great season. Do we want to bring in Matt Zuccarello as the piece that's going to fix this team? I don't know. Jason Zucker, 3 years left in Montreal. Absolutely not. Ellis and Yossi are there, but obviously getting older. Nico Hischier is on the block for New Jersey, as is a 37-year-old Evgeny Malkin. So Nino's there. He only has 17 points. Nico fits the top six in theory. I don't think Gino's going to fit the team. Now, Nico's obviously much higher than an 82 overall. That's due to morale, so there could be a big steal there with us acquiring Nico Hischier. Maybe Nico's the guy, and we could get him relatively cheap for picks and prospect. We wouldn't have to give up a roster player. Now, with the Islanders, holy shit. Now, Nelson has an extra year left at $6 million. He is having an abysmal season. Philip Deneau, expiring deal, but he's a fourth liner. Much as I love Philip Deneau, we're not paying for that expensive of a fourth liner. The Islanders are just having a nightmare season. You could argue Josh Bailey for the top 6. Gallagher's doing well. Brendan Gallagher actually might be a decent option, but he has an extra year left at $7.6 million. Jordan Eberle fits the second line. So, I mean, again, Nelson and Deneau way too expensive. Bailey could be decent. Galley's too expensive. Eberle as a rental could work, so like Eberle or Bailey for a forward. The Rangers don't have anyone we're interested in, nor do Philly or Pittsburgh. San Jose with nobody. St. Louis, I mean, Braden Shen and Lars Eller. Neither have that impressive of a point total. And only Eller fits the team for the bottom 6. I mean, Lars Eller for the bottom 6, I guess. But you got to figure we also have guys in the system that we could call up. And then, like, Pavel Zacha is available, who's not a fit. So you see how limited of options that we have. There are players that we could trade for. Obviously, you have to factor in our internal cap, which is always an issue. That's the big question. I think our defense is solid. Our goaltending is solid. It's just, do we make changes to the forwards? That's the big question. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I'll give you a chance to, give your feedback on this. What do you think we should do? Next episode, we make any moves if we're going to make them. We sim through. We'll go through the first round as well if we make it, as we should. And we'll see where the Senators are, but perhaps, perhaps indeed this team might be on a collision course with a bit of a blow up in this offseason. I have no idea.